To ULTI.TV. I'm Stef Pazzo. We've had a week's worth of interviews leading up to AUC, Australian Ultimate Championships 2021, believe it or not, in the tailing end of this pandemic, as we hope. But the Australians are cleared to play for a national championship. It's coming up in Canberra this weekend. Catch it on ULTI.TV. Today we have a special guest, as we've had all week, but we bring you Mark Evans from the Sydney club Sunder. Big welcome to Mark. How you doing today, buddy?
Good. Almost said colony there again, Pats. But no, I'm happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. I don't know if you have watched. I said you did mention you've watched a show or two, but I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. But a new potential claim that you could add to your ultimate resume is that you were selected as the best current player in Australia in the mind of Tom Regacki. So we did have a little chat yesterday, and I brought it down. Top three ladies of all time, top man now, top women now. Greeny went Mike Neal, and Gack said Mark Evans is the best. So you can hang that on your
I will.
on your mantle of revere. Yeah, a heck of a compliment.
I
of course.
Have thought that he would have said that, but yeah, wow. Thanks, Tom. If you ever watch this,
yeah. Well, that's good. So let's start with your name is Mark Evans. Nickname. What do you get on the frisbee field?
Well, the boys these days call me Sharky, which was a bit of a Hoss heads of state pickup when I played with them in 2015. Well, I didn't play with them. We went as the 2015 AOUC, which is the
Australian
Oceanic
Ultimate
Australian Oceanic. That's it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Which was like 95% Hoss, and then like me and two other guys. But it was really fun. They gave me that nickname. Previously, before that, I think more Hoss nicknames. I've been called the Ice Dragon before,
yes,
but that one didn't really stick around. Yeah, I know exactly. I don't know why that one.
I liked it though. I liked the Ice Dragon.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I've also been doing a little bit of research trying to figure out all the Aussie team names that are associated with each division. Does the AOUCC have a separate team name? Were you guys the Dingoes then, or were you some other incarnation?
This is a whole nother story, Pats. But we were the first iteration in 2015, and it was and since then it's changed. The last one they changed to previously it was just a sort of other selected team, and obviously before that as well. But we were the first men's side to go, and so we sat down in a room with me and 20 Hoss guys, and for half an hour squabbled about what name we should be called. And it came down between the Blue Heelers, which is a classic Australian dog, and then a proposition that Jake Angelovich had put forwards half an hour beforehand, which all the boys thought was funny, which was the Iron Cows. So it was either the Blue Heelers or the Iron Cows, and Iron because Iron is cool, and Cows because cows are funny, and it's hilarious. But there was a point at which we were going to walk out of there, the Iron Cows. And then we turned around and became the Blue Heelers, which is much better.
Last minute called Blue Heelers. Well, that's news to me. So that's one more to the list of iconic Aussie animals that name our frisbee clubs. Okay, so the easy stuff. Your club in your city, shout it
out. Play for Sunder Ultimate, Sydney Sunder, from Sydney, obviously.
Okay, your personal playing number?
Number 14.
Any reason for your playing number, Mark?
A couple of my heroes growing up had the number 14, John Holmes and Pete Gardner, and I got assigned it randomly when I was playing for a team over in Great Britain when I was traveling there when I was like 18, and I wanted it when I got home, and I found out they had it, and so it just kind of was something that I picked up as soon as they dropped it, and so that it holds that meaning for me.
Nice bit of luck, and then kind of waited out till there was a free slot to take it over.
Exactly, and to step into those shoes, that's awesome. Special for me.
Your age and years playing?
I'm 31, and how many years have I been playing? Since 2007, 2008, so it's like 13 years or so.
Okay, so you are pushing. You're pushing Masters, or you are eligible now.
push it masters, but I'm relying on my half Asian blood to keep me young. It's Greenie and I share that. He may not look it, but I'm sure he's got some Asian blood in him somewhere.
There must be. He's drinking some from some fountain of youth over there
Yeah,
in Newcastle.
exactly. Yeah.
And then tell us about your Aussie rep selections. I don't know if you have enough time even to name all of them, or if they're all on the tip of your tongue. But you've represented many times. What are some notable
Yeah, a few
ones,
times.
or take
Well,
us through as many as you
2010 was
can?
the first one.
Okay.
2010 definitely sort of set me off on that path with WAC representation for World Clubs representation for Colony, and also with the Goannas, the first ever Goanna side.
Okay.
And then we had 2014 was the next World Club Championships. Before then, I played with Ring of Fire over in the States. And then in 2016, played for the Dingoes, 2017 for the World Games team, 2018 for Colony at the most recent WAC. And then we've got 2019 was the AOUC Dingoes, and it would have been 2020, but RIP, pull one out.
Right, and of course the blue healers in there as well, as we now know them.
Exactly.
As we now know them by name. And I think that was even between Tom and Greenie yesterday, working it out. Somebody, I think Dan Clinton, commented that you also had that season or two of playing in the US that solidified your being the best. And Tommy was definitely taking that on as my decision's better because he's also got this US background too. So if nothing else, it works to justify your being the best in the game in Tommy's mind right now. So
highly recommend if anybody's listening is thinking about going to the US to spend a season there. It is next level fun. It's so good.
Yeah. Next level fun, and I imagine next level development. I know just looking at you, looking at Cupcake and Lotto, three teammates at one stage not long ago, I guess, but the three of you, the difference that was made pre-US and post-US was seemed to be, those real next level steps taking you from very good players to great dominating players. So there's something worth the while in that higher level of competition over there.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, just to spend like a year, 6 months a year, just focusing on it. That's kind of what you need when you get to that point where you're plateauing. So yeah, again, if you can go and exchange to the States, or if you can go and play for a team, Australia has plenty of connections, make the most of them, get over there. Because the more players we send over there, the better everyone gets here and the more we're able to push them when we get to that international level.
Awesome. And one quick question while I'm in Europe and we have some European viewers here. You did play in Europe for a stretch, is that right as well? Or am I
I just traveled through there on my gap year when I was 18, and I was ultimate obsessed at the time because I'd just been cut from the Australian under-18 side. And so I went there, determined to have a good time playing the sport, and I did. I had a great time. I played tour a couple of times with a team called London Revolution. It was very like bottom level.
Awesome.
I was not. And then I just played an Oktoberfest tournament. I don't know if you've played that one before, Steph. I don't know if it still exists,
not.
Really.
So it sounds like it would be in Germany, but I haven't played it.
Yeah. Anyway, that was awesome. So yeah, I mean, big love to European. I love the kind of. I feel like the hippie culture of Ultimate is still very much alive in Europe.
I feel exactly the same. The amount of tournaments that have camping available, and the festival nature that still exists in more of the festivals. I hear you completely. I think that hippie nature is a bit more alive and well here than it is in North America and Australia, let's say.
Definitely.
So let's talk about this season, Mark. Tell us about the uniqueness of this season, the uncertainties, how you prepare for that, kind of how it started, how it's looking now. But take us through a bizarre season of Sunder Ultimate.
Yeah, totally. So, I think we'll get to the name at some point, but obviously there was the whole club change in terms of sort of like shifting our name, which is inherently tied to your identity. And then like, how do you bring that across to this new club, keep the good bits, leave the bad bits behind, and work through that with a similar roster, because it was not a lot of turnover. We had heaps of turnover in 2019. Again, we'll talk about talent though. I don't want to get so the season with COVID, obviously very much up in the air until there was sort of some glimmer of hope about it in December. But right as that happened, we got the news that Worlds was cancelled. And so, you're trying to get pumped up about this season that's exciting for a lot of people. Excuse me, got something in my throat.
Get it out.
And this other sort of devastating thing happened. So that was sort of personally definitely a bit of an up and down. And then getting into the season, it was sort of like, do we start training? When do we, when is the space restrictions going to be enough? Do we follow government guidelines? Do we follow council guidelines? Because they always kind of lag a little bit behind. And anyway, we got training. We got to tryouts. We got a couple of tryouts. We selected the team as kind of per normal. And it was a sort of slowish start to the season because there wasn't many tournaments. We had Gold Cup on the horizon, but in terms of the uncertainty, I think what it really brought out, which was, a huge positive, not just for Ultimate, just for other things, is that you, at least when you first got into it, you really appreciated it again, and you had that gratitude for the sport. You're out there throwing a bit, in the sunset with 20 of your mates, and you appreciate it. Also the social connection. You were at that point lacking that kind of sort of social element to Sydney. It's quite a big city, so you didn't get to see people as much as you do now, twice a week. And so that's been a definite element for me. And in terms of dealing with it, like, we've been pretty lucky in that it hasn't really been that uncertain. The things that we've been to, New South Wales has been pretty sort of good in terms of outbreaks. We had a couple early on, but it got under control. And so, I feel like really I'm at a similar point mentally to where I would be in a normal season. It feels a lot like it's kind of gone back to normal for us. And it's crazy how quickly you assimilate to that after such a long period of time where it wasn't like that. Suddenly it's all back to normal and your mind's like, okay, you can calm down now.
Yeah, right.
But
it's that whole year lost. I can only imagine knowing that it's still lost over here. Like, as you say, just getting back out there again, the small victories of chucking a huck in practice, the little things, having a warm up together, shooting the shit about last weekend and what you guys did in real life while the heart starts pumping. The good little starts and finishes to all your sessions.
Yeah, so. Exactly. The silver linings around the beautiful cloud that is Ultimate, and you do start to appreciate them. And I wish that I could hold on to that feeling, because it's so fleeting, and you go back to taking it for granted so quickly.
Bottle it up and make it tangible, and we'll get rich somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
So you did touch on it, and we discussed how we were going to go through some of these questions. So we will get there now. Talk about the change of the club name. Colony had nothing but success on the field, really. Like, in the eyes of any spectator, Colony, I would say, is the most successful name in Australian Ultimate. Ellipsis is making a name for themselves, doing a lot of winning in the women's division now, but Colony has been winning forever.
Tell you Chile as well at some point back. Didn't they get a string of games? I'm sure that came up in his conversation.
Yeah, I think Gak will always tout himself, whether it's for the victories or the longevity. But anyways, let's get back to this Colony, which is now Sunder, and they were a great club. But why did this come up? How did it come up? And how did you guys deal with the change?
It came up because a few of our club members felt uncomfortable with the ties that the name Colony has with, obviously, our colonial history. And, the name, I was there in the email thread for the sort of name generation of Colony, and it was sort of never intended to be looked at in that way. And I think that, when you think of Sydney, it's difficult to think of it outside of the context of colonial history. It's like, it's when you think of, you think of a name that comes from a lot of the sort of major places around the world are kind of focused on certain elements of that city. And Sydney, as sort of Australia's starting point, is a big part of its identity. But the time came to move away from that. And, if even one club member feels, and, if members of the public as well feel that, and we didn't really have any pressure from the public. That wasn't something that at least came to me. But a couple of members inside the team voiced their concerns, and that's enough. That's enough to push it on its way. And there was a bittersweet feeling to letting that name go, definitely. And one sort of part of you is happy that it dies young, Colony. It dies at its peak. So, and it will never fade off. It will always be remembered as a great club of Australia. But then there's also this idea that, you give up so much of that brand and so much of that identity by moving over to this other name. And I think we had to view it as an opportunity, and the club has changed drastically since the first time when I played. There's a lot angrier when I played, and we're still pretty angry, but like there was a lot more of that old fire. And I don't know if you know what I mean when I say that, Steph, but like the brashness of a couple of generations of Ultimate Player ago, and the honesty with which they played, and the intensity with which they played was definitely outshone the skill level of those of the players at that time. They did it everything by heart and everything by passion and fire. And now players are, I think, much faster and generally much more skilled, just because they have people teaching them who have been around the world and know how to play. But definitely we you want to keep the good bits of that fire but leave the bad bits. And so it was a whole balancing thing. And really, you can only do so much as a captain or a coach or a leading player. You just kind of have to push players in that general direction of effort equals respect. Put the effort in, you get the reward, and then just see what happens.
And with all this, so I get completely how this happened. I was part of or some of the difficulties in getting the change, but I was part of the name change when Firestorm turned to Mammoth, and I think J-Mac hated me for 2 months in the midst of those discussions. Only 2 months. We're back. We're good now. Me and J-Mac are good. But in the midst of some of that, when I was pointing fingers and saying that this brand's not working right now, or something's got to change about this, it's personal stuff, man. It's that is culture. That's years of culture that's built, and you want to, like you say, for the sake of Colony, keep as much of that winning culture as you can while being sensitive to like I also used to think that Colony was a brilliant name. Like it's perfect. They are this double team. They come as a colony. They represent Sydney, which is where the colonization happened. But at the same time, there is a lot about that colonization that is very, very wrong in the eyes of many, which has to be respected as well. So I fully understand the switch.
And you just got to move. You just got to roll with the punches. And I don't know if you had this for the Firestorm Mammoth name change, but coming up with a new name is hard. That is not easy, especially if you make it a diplomatic inter-team process, which we did, where we just said, please, we need to come up with a new name. Let's put it all out there, and the one with the most votes is going to win. And you put an explanation in about why. Put your submission in, a rough explanation. We'll throw them out, and we'll just all vote on them and see which one comes out on top. And just whittling that down and providing the energy to get it across the finish line was just like.
And Sunder came from or what is the meaning of Sunder? What does Sunder mean? I think
Sunder means to break in two.
Okay.
What are you something? Be cleft in twain. So be cleft in twain is what Sunder means, and so with that sort of symbolizes the splitting in half of our club. And other than that, that's about where the meaning ends. I read it in a nice Australian poem by I've forgotten, famous Australian poet. Maybe no, it's gone.
We'll get there. Maybe one of our viewers will put it in the chat if they know.
And so then I put that one forwards, and the boys kind of resonated with it, and then here we are.
And then Latamatos talked about one of your criteria in the naming, especially once you had Sunder, you needed to have two divisions of the club. Colony once was Plunder and Pillage, and I think other incarnations of that as well. But then, so now you've got your XY split as Sunder. Slice and dice they went with, and the term that Lato said you put some importance on was this yellability.
Yeah, well,
Elaborate
I
a little
mean,
bit on that. It makes perfect sense, but just
yeah,
tell us a little bit about it.
I was gonna say, Steph, I feel like that would resonate entirely with you. But it's important for a name to sound good coming out of the mouth. It's got to have, like food, it has to have good mouthfeel. You say it and you're like, oh, I want to say that again, but louder. you know,
I
and
love it.
and
I
so
love it.
and so that's where we got with Sunder, and then Slice and Dice also. That whole, again, we went through that whole naming thing, and those are the ones we came out with, and they are yellable, and they have good double meanings, and you could throw stuff around. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's
And
what we
I
came
love
with. But
it.
yellability,
Going back to
throw all
food.
your names through that filter, and make sure that they're yellable before you settle on them, because no one wants to be yelling some ridiculous name that doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, I hear you 100%, which we've all done for sure. We've played for the ridiculous teams, smoking a
Yes,
pancake or something like this. That
exactly,
just, let's
exactly.
go smoking a pancake. Okay, what's going on here? Anyways, let's keep looking on. We discussed the similarities with Firestorm to Mammoth. Queensland this year, defending champions from 2 years ago, a lost season last year, and a last minute decision. They're not able to come because of health and safety, COVID regulations, restrictions. How does this resonate with you in Sydney? Like, what's the feel about like missing a national championship, going on with a national championship without the defending champs? Yeah, what's the general feel about this
Yeah, good
regulation twist,
question.
this limitation?
I mean, it sucks for them. It sucks big time. I haven't talked to any of those guys in the entire lockdown. I have no idea whether they've been training. I have no idea whether they've been playing. Like, I guess it sort of depends on the quality of their season so far, how much of an impact they would have had on the field. I mean, obviously they're a super strong side, and probably would have been a top four contender again. But they also had lost some talent since that roster. I don't know if that's been discussed yet, or if you know specific names,
A
Steph. But
tiny
they,
bit has been discussed. Liam Grimmin brought up a few big names that will not be joining them. I know Callan Spielman was one of the first ones that
yeah,
came out. John
Callan,
McNaughton, of course, taking a year off, and there was a few more.
yeah,
Uh,
they had an American dude there that time they won. They had Zev as well,
yeah,
who's
Zev not
strong.
there. That name was brought up. So
Anyway,
they will
so like
be potentially weaker unless their next man up plan is really everybody really steps up.
exactly, everybody really stepped up. Queensland was getting jacked over the pandemic. I mean, that could have happened too. I guess that's something that I hadn't really considered. Grimmin
Mm.
just rocks up and he's just like hulking out. Just that'd be crazy. I wouldn't know what to do. But
It could happen.
it could happen. But yeah. So my anticipation of them, and I hope this doesn't offend any of them if they're listening, was that they would be a weaker team. And
Mm.
so, I think that with that in mind, with them not being a sort of superstar team that would have definitely cleaned the field and gone through and got that repeat, I still feel there's a lot of legitimacy around the title, and I think that yeah, I think that it's a huge loss for them. But you can't really, like, going into one of these things, you can't really let it like sit on your brain. No point putting an asterisk against your own title.
Mm.
Like, so
Exactly.
that's kind of my take. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on. I mean, from my perspective, being a non-player out of country right now, seeing it happen, it's like it kind of limits the Australian Ultimate Championships to the Southeastern Australian
It
Ultimate
does, yeah, it
Championship.
does. I mean, I don't know what happened to Perth. Nobody really has talked about that yet.
Yeah, I
Do
think
they?
that,
I mean, you would think that they would be there.
they were they're it's almost like they made the decision on their own accord by the sounds of things. Like they knew that there would be issues, so they didn't want to, but the federation seemed to have made the decision on behalf of the Queenslanders. So
Yeah,
that's
right.
kind of the vibe I'm getting from some of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
chat I'm getting.
Mhm.
Okay, let's keep moving on here, Mark. So let's talk about this AUC coming up. You and your Sunder squad. Uh, how's your team looking? First, maybe talk about some either injuries or concerns or players that walked away or retired in the last season, and then talk about some up and comers or some excitement or some superstars on your team that you're excited to see what they do?
You know, we've had some turnover in our roster, but in 2019, we invested heavily in a huge squad of really new players. Like 2019 was the turnover year for Colony then, Sunder now, and a lot of older players stopped playing. And so in 2019, we had a stopped playing or left or whatever, got injured, and so in 2019, our squad was 50% new players, total rookies. And so that was our sort of development year. And so now the team, I can't really talk about that many players that have left. I'm sure there are, and, I'm missing some notable names. I apologize to you if that is you. But for the most part, a lot of the players that played last year or would have played in the championship last year are back this time. And so that's great for A, our club, B, their development, because, now they're 2 or 3 seasons deep, and we're starting to get to that point where, our rookies really know what they're doing. And I'm sure you've had that experience as well on the field. You turn around, you do something else, you turn back, and suddenly this rookie who a couple of years ago
can play now, man. What's happened?
Yeah, exactly. And
there's forehead. He's got a hammer too.
Yeah, and it's also like it's smaller movements as well. You can see where they're looking, or it's like a poise with a disc, or a confident around break, or something small. And so that we're getting to that point. And so we have a lot of those players on my side of the team, Sunder Dice, which sort of lent heavily on the athletics or athleticism side of things when we were selecting. And so we've got a lot of super young, super fast guys, really just on the front edge of their prime, like they're not quite there yet, but maybe this weekend they will be.
Maybe this weekend they will be. This is their time to shine.
This is their time to shine. And so that is what I'm stoked about coming into this tournament, is that there are going to be some highlight reel plays from Dice, and some crazily efficient shutdown man D from a lot of our players. We don't have that many injuries to speak of. There's a few sort of niggles here and there, but nothing major. It's sort of been a weird season because obviously training ramped up pretty quickly. And so if you hadn't been running during lockdown, we had a lot of sort of chronic failures of joints and sort of limbs and all that other stuff. And so that's mostly the
niggling. Mostly the veteran players there. With that
exactly.
Kind of
stuff. That's just like, exactly. Mostly the veteran players there, especially on rainy nights, when training was far away.
Oh yeah.
But no, we're good coming into the weekend, and I'm excited to see what all of our players who are just getting into that prime of their playing career are going to achieve on the field under some pressure, under the spotlight. Maybe we get a camera game, and stuff starts getting real exciting.
Awesome. Well, we would love to see you under the ULTI.TV cameras. I know that there's a freebie KO stream happening as well, which is interesting to see. We're looking forward to see how that all plays out. But it sounds like more coverage of Ultimate is better for more people. So we're excited to every end. So let's go to the big questions here, the hot takes, Mark. I know it's been difficult to keep your eye on the whole country's worth of Ultimate period with the limited domestic play, especially the women's division. But we'll start with the men. Give me your champion first, and I have a feeling I know where you're going, but then I want to hear the top 4. So how the semis will shake out in your division.
I mean, I think it'd be rude to say that Sunder Dice doesn't win, so we're definitely going to win.
Rude even. Yes, okay. I knew I had a feeling where you were going to go with this.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
So backing yourself, which I love to see. That's and it's not an outlandish claim by any stretch, of course. With
and the finals not close, Stef.
The finals not close even. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, good. So Sunder Dice by a landslide in the final.
Yeah.
And who are you going to beat in the final, and who did those teams beat to get there?
We're going to beat our other Sunder team in the final. It'll be our first and only tournament victory again, unless we play in pool play, and then we'll beat them there as well. But anyway, it'll be so.
They've got the best of you so far.
They've got the best of us so far.
That is always the way it goes with your inner clubs, though. Whoever has the advantage going into nationals loses at nationals. Isn't there something about that?
That is a thing, and it is a time-told thing. So, let's see what happens. I don't want to put that bad juju on them. I still want to get to the final, but
all right.
yeah.
And who are you Sunders beaten to get there?
I think Ellipsis look like sort of head and shoulders above the rest of the pack. That would be my take. So I think they're going to be bringing it up third. And then after that, I want to see Fishwick get there. I want to see Fishwick get a top 4. I like those guys.
Fishwick, you're not the first to have a Fishwick pick. That's good to see. All right, so Mark, and we got a shot of you here. That this is Mark, of course, going back to Cincinnati, broken wrist and all. You were just at the end. That was a heck of a trip there. So we wish you that kind of the luck, whatever you were using when you were back there in Cincinnati. We hope you got that same fire for yourself and for your team coming up this weekend in Canberra, Mark. It has been a pleasure to get in your ear. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, it's my pleasure. Look out for us this weekend on the stream in the final and any other time we're playing. We really appreciate your support of the sport and our club. So yeah, thanks, Putz, and I hope to see you soon in the flesh.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I want more than anything, to see you and all of our Aussie or Ultimate friends can be together and play in tournament and have some fun once again. That time it's got to be coming soon. In the meantime, I'd like to thank Hotel de Wortel for the production here in Amsterdam. Of course, huge thanks to ULTI.TV for the broadcasting distribution of Australian Ultimate. More than 10 years now, ULTI.TV has been doing this. So make sure you follow, subscribe, comment, become a member of all things ULTI.TV, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And I'm Stef Pazzo. I have Kat Smith coming up right after Mark Evans. She's already in the waiting room right now. We're going to go away for a sec and be right back with her. But thanks for joining us. Be good and don't do anything I wouldn't do.